Alright, so we're going to try to do a part 2 because part 1 actually did something, unlike it did when I first tried this tonight. So it's still Monday, December 9th, 2024. And I wanted to talk about how some people think that I can just go to the court and rectify it so that the level of finances are not being stolen from me each month. And unfortunately, these individuals do not understand that the way you do that is you start with an interrogatory. An interrogatory is a formal way in court where you demand financial documentation and things like that. And then the other person has to provide those documents to you and to the court. That's how this is done. The other person has to provide those documents, meaning if the other person falsifies those documents, pads the books in the derogatory direction, if they're able to do that, and if they have friends who help them do that, and they don't work for an employer, because working for an employer is not fun, so there's no pay stubs, then you're relying on the other person to be honest. And there's certain kinds of people who do the types of things that I'm talking about here, who do not at any point in time plan on being honest. That kind of person is not going to give honest documents and honest answers to an interrogatory. And when they've got friends that will lie for them, which is a definite case here, you're not going to get the proof that way. So in order to get the proof, you'd have to get into that person's files and pinch the documents, which I cannot do, and which I wholeheartedly discourage anybody else from thinking about doing, because that will get you killed, or you will wish you were killed, because it can get a lot worse than killed. And to mention something that's a lot worse than just killed, or just battered, or beaten to a pulp, abuse by proxy is worse than that. It is far, far worse than that. Because through abuse by proxy, this type of individual uses police, every agency and organization that you could ever think of, court systems, other people with the authority to harm you. They slander you, they smear campaign you, and they get all of these other people, organizations, and agencies and officers to perpetrate great harm against you. That's what abuse by proxy is. And if ever you experience abuse by proxy and come to understand that's what you experienced, you will lovingly dream of just being beaten to a pulp. because it's so much kinder. It leaves you with some form of potential future where abuse by proxy robs you of your entire life, your entire health physically, your entire ability not to have PTSD, and everything else. You will have nothing after one or two abuse by proxy scams. And this particular type of personality will not leave it at one abuse by proxy scam or two abuse by proxy scams. They will continue perpetrating abuse by proxy scams because that's how they get the total authority to continue destroying you, destroying your life, isolating you, controlling you, making it so you can't have anyone around you because they too will be destroyed. And that's the reality. You can't just turn to a court system and think that this kind of person is going to be honest in anything this kind of person presents. They're going to deceive like they have all along. They have absolutely no reason to fear perjury because they've maxed it out and they max it out continuously. They have no fear of it. They always get away with it. And then, of course, that person can retaliate based on just that alone and demand that, I also pay for, every hour that he had to prepare for a hearing, every hour that he had to attend the hearing, his travel cost to go to the hearing, which of course are just driving a little bit in his own city, but doesn't matter. I'm sure he'll get a big ka-ching ching-a-ling-ling from that. Any distress, pain, and suffering, I mean, they just milk that system because they know how to do it. There are people that have certain types of disorders. The types of disorders that cause somebody to perpetrate abuse by proxy, that cause somebody to deceive to this level, and that cause somebody to batter and essay children, and that cause these kinds of people to also perpetrate parental alienation to a maximum degree and profit from all of these activities. There are certain kinds of disorders, personality malfunctions, that do these sorts of things. And those are types of people that do not get better with therapy. These are types of people that simply learn how to deceive better with therapy. And this is all proven. And I do know all the correct terms to use and all the correct case studies, all the correct DSM labels and terms, but it's a waste of time to use them because the system doesn't care. It's like when he did the 2012 abuse by proxy scam. And when I got back into the house, what was happening? What was happening? He was battering tiny, tiny children. In the shower, he was taking the showers with the tiny children, and the children were playing with his willy. They were stroking and picking and grabbing his willy, and he was giggling. He was battering the children to such a degree where I honestly don't know why one or more than one of them wasn't killed by the level of battering that was going on because they were so young. And he was taking showers, and the children were playing with his willy, and he was giggling. And then he was going in the bed with the children naked, and they were playing with his willy in the bed, and he was giggling. In 2012, after pulling off an abuse by proxy scam. And I am convinced he pulled off the abuse by proxy scam that time because he wanted to take it all to the next level. And he wanted me not to be able to do anything about it. He wanted me to not have any credibility. And it's very successful. People who do these types of things have a certain psychiatric label. This is not healthy behavior. Of course, I have cognitive dissonance on that. That's been inflicted on me because of everything that he has stolen. This is what he has done. And after the state gave him the children, after 4 or 5 years, they just kept it going until he could get through the therapy. Therapy based upon what he had actually done, at least in part, not in full, because they probably didn't address the essaying at all. But, I don't have his reports. He is mine, but I don't have his reports. Just like he had so many more rights and services than I did, and I had almost nothing, but it's a different story for a different info video. But they kept it going long enough to give him the kids. And what was he doing after they gave him the kids? Well, how does the song go? About the water spout and the spider. The itsy bitsy spider went down the water spout. Out came the water and washed the spider out. Good times in the shower. Good times in the shower was going on. And I had supervised visitation with no phone contact, no letters. I had to pay a ton of money, travel 5 hours one way, and could only have that every 2 weeks for a couple hours. As he was at his house singing, the itsy bitsy spider came down the water spout. Down came the water and washed the spider out. And these are the things that cause post-traumatic stress disorder. Witnessing it, knowing it, and then just the abuse by proxy. And it just continues and continues and continues. That's the cause of PTSD. And so what if he stopped at this point? Now that the kids are older, he was still doing it. That's right. I know. Because according to the experts and the state and everything else, it's okay as long as he stopped. It's okay. As long as he's not doing it right now, this minute, it's okay, right? I think that's really how they see things, I swear. Myself, on the other hand, I have to be perfect. And even when I'm perfect, it's not good enough because he's lied about me and created this whole character of who I never was. And I didn't admit to being a character who I never was. What has it been now? Many years ago. Even though I wasn't clued in that I had to be this character that I never was, even though I was authentic instead of becoming somebody I never was, so I could get treated for what I never did and never said and never was, and there was no acceptance, knowledge, awareness, or anything for what had really happened. I had to morph into something I never was, again, without being cued in that that's what I had to do to pass. And that thing that I was supposed to morph into that I never was, physically, there's no way. With 3 heart conditions and everything else, physically, there's no way I could have been that long enough to pass. I think one day or one night of being that, and I'd be so worn out, I wouldn't be able to even go to work for months. And I had to also maintain employment and pay all the bills and everything else. So that wouldn't have worked out so good, but it would have worked out better than the way things turned out if I just could have maintained it somehow and been the kind of crazy they demanded I be, morph into the character he created in his lies to pull off, can't say his last abuse by proxy scam because he's still doing it now. And he's done things to my kids. He has done things to my kids. And the information is now coming out more and more publicly. They have a high likelihood of not surviving. And I was given no authority to even speak. No authority to even speak. And the bottom line is, other than the ability to deceive, to perpetrate perjury, abuse by proxy scams, stalking by proxy, and all of that stuff, he has no other talent. He has no other intelligence. He's a he's a moron. He's an absolute moron. Other than that limited set of skills. And with that limited set of skills in those limited ways, he's a genius. But he's only a genius because the people he's playing to can't use critical thinking. Around it goes. And where it stops, when I'm dead. All of his stalking by proxy and abuse by proxy has made it so that I have to move into a vehicle. And I should be happy. I really should have a positive attitude. I'm struggling with it. I'm struggling really bad. I have to move into a vehicle because I have to be where he can't just send people over to do more abuse by proxy. And there's no stationary living arrangement where that's possible. There just isn't. And he's stealing all the money, so I can't rent an apartment or anything like that. I can't buy anything because if I buy something, he'll just go to court and say, "Oh, I heard that she has this and that." And she needs to sell it and give me the money, and they'll give it to him. The court will give it to him. So I can't buy anything. I can't stay on a friend or acquaintance's place because he will stalk them and they'll get tired of it. People don't enjoy being stalked, and he has stalked everybody imaginable. They have literally contacted me. Numerous people have contacted me, sent me photographs of him that they found on the internet because they got his name. And they have said, "Is this your ex? Who is this guy? What the hell is this guy doing? What is going on?" People don't appreciate it. People don't want to be stalked. So I can't, stay anywhere. So I should be happy and grateful, but I'm very concerned because my medical situation is a lot worse. Basically, the past several months, I can't eat anything but a little bit of saltine crackers because if I eat anything else, I get really, really sick. I don't vomit. I don't vomit, but it comes out the other way to an extreme for, just one other thing, one small meal of a different thing other than a little bit of saltine crackers, a little bit of applesauce, and bananas. I can eat a little bit of bananas. But anything else, and it is big trouble for like a week. So, along with the three heart issues and autoimmune and everything else, now I've got this. And there's no way that I can do anything about it because that costs money. I don't qualify for any welfare benefits because I make too much money. The fact that I don't get to have any of my money doesn't matter. Um, but I should still be happy and have a better attitude about moving into the car. But it's stressing me out because I have to find a way somehow to get electricity in the vehicle and everything else because I have to be able to work on the computer linked up to the internet 9 hours a day in a vehicle. But if I can figure out a way to do that, then at least I can go to sleep at night and wake up and, in the morning and get through the day. And I don't have to worry about however many police and private detectives show up and God only knows what, and thugs may be stalking out there. There's stuff going on. There's stuff going on. There's stuff going on right now. Probably hear the dog barking. There's stuff going on outside right now. And it's pretty much every night. Which, of course, is why in his interrogatory he wanted to know where I live so he could do this. And he found out where I live, and immediately after finding out where I live, what did he do? He immediately started stalking by proxy, abuse by proxy, more stalking by proxy that's just been going on continuously. In his interrogatory, back on the joke 4-hour family court hearing, he also wanted to know if I had any boyfriend, fiance, husband, if I lived with anybody, if I had anybody in my life at all, anybody in my life at all. And he wanted their name and their occupation and everything about them, their financial documents. He wanted all of that. I don't have anybody in my life, and I never have. But the reasons he wanted that information, he's really transparent when you use some critical thinking. But do you think the judge used any critical thinking? No. She ordered I give him my address. And if I would have had anybody in my life, she would have ordered I give him that too. And I didn't give him my address, but it doesn't matter because he found it and immediately started sending people over. Immediately. Immediately. A neighbor, distant neighbor's mailbox was getting filled up with all of this stuff from all of the court stuff he was dragging me to, 5 different court hearings this last summer. 3 were canceled, but still. This person's mailbox was getting filled up constantly with this garbage. And it went on for months after I notified that that's not my mailbox. It went on for months. That made that person feel good, right? That neighbor made them feel great. Yeah. And I'm willing to bet anything that neighbor is getting stalked and stalked by proxy. Doesn't even know it. Because that person probably has been targeted as whatever, with me, whatever. They're with me somehow. They're not, but it doesn't matter. That's abuse by proxy. In order to turn this around, I would need to have help from a good attorney that would actually try and use the evidence. I can furnish evidence. Good luck getting an attorney, particularly now that more than half my income is being stolen. I'd have to have other stuff redone to get new proof of things. And then the old proof would have to be used. And then it would probably take some testimony from other people that know the truth. And good luck with that. Because this kind of predator has got it all sealed up and keeps it all sealed up. Surrounded by friends who will lie, will pad the books in a derogatory direction. Total parental alienation with my children, despite all the reality. The only thing I can do is let him steal everything that he can get his hands on. Try to keep him from stealing things from other people because he's after other people's things. And move into my car and have a better attitude and somehow convince myself that I can keep my job working 9 hours on a computer, doing what I do, living in a car. I'm having a really hard time convincing myself that I could do that. I've managed to do that in a very, very non-permissive environment for years. More non-permissive than you could possibly imagine. And I had to create a lot of infrastructure to do that. But he has burned that bridge by stalking. So now I need to find a way to create that infrastructure somehow in a car. And I have severe arthritis and 3 heart conditions, and all I can afford to eat is the saltine crackers. A little bit of saltine crackers each day. If I could afford bananas and applesauce, I can also eat a little bit of that. Not too much applesauce, I think, but I think I can eat like 2 bananas a day. I've eaten as much as 2 bananas a day without getting sick. And saltine crackers. I felt a lot better. But bananas are expensive, and he's taking all the money, so kind of the reality. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope this actually recorded. Again, it's December 9th, 2024. Over and out.